Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. I always believed marriages didn't collapse overnight. They eroded slowly, like a coastline eaten away by waves no one pays attention to. Looking back, the signs were everywhere. The late-night showers, the sudden obsession with fitness, the way she hid her phone like it contained nuclear codes instead of harmless messages. But the turning point wasn't a text, wasn't a rumor. It was something far simpler. It was silence. Silence where warmth used to be. My name is Cole Harrison, 34, a man who grew up believing in effort. Work hard, love harder, show up always. My routine was simple. Up by 6, coffee brewing automatically, gym by 7, office by 8, home by 6. Nothing dramatic, nothing extravagant, but steady, reliable. My wife, Madeline, used to say she loved that about me. It makes me feel anchored, she once whispered while tracing her fingers along my jaw. Funny how anchors suddenly feel like chains when someone wants to drift. Lately, though, she drifted far. It started 3 months before that night. She began disappearing into events, meetings, and dinners she somehow could never fully explain. She'd come home smelling like cologne that definitely wasn't mine. She'd laugh at her phone, screen turned just enough away from me. And every time I'd ask if everything was okay, she'd respond with that tired smile. Don't be dramatic, Cole. Dramatic, right? One afternoon, a coworker invited me to grab lunch at a downtown restaurant. I wasn't hungry, but I wanted to stretch my legs. And that's where everything shifted. The hostess sat me near a corner booth, and across that booth sat Madeline, leaning in close to a man I'd never seen before. A tall guy, expensive watch, eyes locked on her like she was a secret he already owned. I didn't confront her, didn't march over her, didn't breathe. They weren't touching, but the air between them was heavy, too familiar, too practiced. Madeline looked happier in that moment than she had in months at home. I left before she could notice me. That night, she claimed she was working late. I played along. From that day, I watched her differently. Not like a husband, like an investigator. She started dressing nicer for quick errands. Her makeup became more polished. Her patience toward me became thinner. And I, like an idiot, kept pretending maybe it was stress. Maybe it was work. Maybe it was anything other than the truth. But the truth has a way of crawling out of the dark when you least expect it. It was a Saturday morning when she stood in the doorway of our bedroom, fixing her earrings, humming lightly, humming as if she had a whole other world in her head. Her purse was packed. Her eyes were bright. Her lips carried a smile I hadn't earned. Going out, I asked casually. Her hum stopped, and that's when the night you gave me finally began to unfold, but not because I started with it, because she did. And this time, I didn't react like a wounded husband. This time, I reacted like a man planning a storm. Madeline checked her reflection one last time, smoothing a hand over her curled hair. Her perfume, light, floral, and not the one I bought her, floated through the room. She looked radiant, too radiant for a casual outing. She picked up her purse, hesitating for only half a second before saying, "Cole, I'm meeting someone for dinner. I'll be back late." There it was. The line she had carefully rehearsed. A sentence that didn't tremble, didn't crack, didn't even blink with guilt. Oh, I kept my tone even. Someone important. She inhaled slowly. As if preparing for a confession, she expected me to swallow without question. "It's my ex-husband," she finally said. "We've reconnected recently. He still means something to me. I don't want to hide that." Her ex-husband. The man she once described as manipulative. The man she claimed had drained her emotionally. The man she supposedly never wanted to see again. So many lies. For a moment, I didn't say anything. The air didn't move. The house felt smaller, the walls closer. A coldness settled in my stomach, but not the painful kind. No, this was clarity. "Madeline," I said quietly, "does this feel right to you?" She didn't meet my eyes. "It's harmless. You're overthinking." Overthinking. There was again. Every time she wanted me blind, she called me dramatic. Emotional. Overreacting. I stood up, locking eyes with her. "If you walk out that door tonight to see him, everything changes. You know that, right?" She finally looked at me, but her expression wasn't fear. It was annoyance, resentment, as if I were the problem standing between her and whatever fantasy she had rebuilt with a man from her past. Cole, she said with forced calm, I need to live my life. I can't be monitored. I'm not a child. No, I said softly. But you are married. She flinched, not out of guilt, but because she didn't want the reminder. Then she delivered the line she thought would control me. I'm allowed to have people in my life besides you. And in that moment, I stopped being hurt, stopped being confused, stopped being the man waiting for her to come home happy. I became someone new, someone awake. Do what you want, I said, stepping aside. Make your choice. She blinked, thrown off by my calmness. Madeline expected desperation, begging, anger, anything that proved she still held power. Instead, she got indifference. Her heels clicked against the floor as she walked past me, tension trailing behind her like a long shadow. She grabbed her coat, her keys, her confidence, and she left. The door shut. The lock slid. Silence filled the house. But inside me, a plan had already begun rising like a tide. I sat at the dining table, fingers tapping lightly against the wood. The clock ticked above me, slow and steady, matching my heartbeat. Every detail from the last 3 months rearranged like puzzle pieces finally aligning. Her sudden love for new perfumes. The gym sessions she never used to care about. The way she carried her phone everywhere, even to the bathroom. The late night, work emergencies. The way she spoke about me like I was an obligation, not a partner. I wasn't blind. I was choosing not to see. Not anymore. I opened my laptop, typing faster than I had in years. Lawyer contacts, financial planners, bank account statements, messages I had never deleted, even when she told me to clean up storage. Our marriage wasn't a battlefield. It was a ledger, and I was done letting her run it. I didn't want revenge at first. I wanted clarity. But as I pieced together the truth, revenge became clarity. I remembered the man from the restaurant corner table, the expensive watch, the way he leaned toward her, the confidence of someone who knew she'd answer his messages at midnight. That wasn't a random lunch. It was a rehearsal. They were easing back into something behind my back, hoping I'd stay busy, predictable, quiet. And maybe I would have, if Madeline hadn't pushed one step too far. At around 9:30, her phone buzzed in the kitchen, where she forgot it. A single screen lighting up in the dark room. I didn't plan to check it, didn't intend to invade privacy. But the notification banner showed the contact name clear as day. Cal, dinner soon? I'm excited. Excited. She didn't even bother hiding it properly. My jaw tightened, but not in anger. No, anger was too light, too temporary. What I felt was controlled, cold, precise. The kind of emotion someone feels right before making the smartest move of their life. I didn't answer his message, didn't touch the phone, didn't even breathe on it. Instead, I put it down exactly as I found it, because I didn't need her phone to expose her. She would expose herself, and I would make sure the fallout was the most polite, legal, and devastating storm she ever walked into. The night stretched on, quiet and heavy. I didn't wait for her to return. I didn't sit like a wounded spouse hoping for explanations. I began preparing the life she didn't believe I was courageous enough to build without her. She thought she held all the cards. She was about to learn. I built the deck. Madeline came home a little after midnight. The sound of her keys jingling at the door used to fill me with warmth. Now it only confirmed what I already knew. I didn't move from the couch. I kept my breathing steady, my posture relaxed, my expression unreadable. She stepped inside with the soft confidence of someone who had done something wrong, but believed she could hide it with a smile. Oh, she said, unprepared to see me awake. You're still up. Couldn't sleep, I replied calmly. Her coat was still warm from the car heater, perfume stronger than before, hair slightly mussed. If she were trying to convince me this was an innocent dinner, she wasn't doing a good job of disguising the truth. She placed her purse down carefully, as if setting evidence aside without smudging fingerprints. How was your night? She asked casually, sliding out of her heels. I got clarity, I said. That's more valuable than sleep. She froze for a split second. It was tiny, barely noticeable, but enough. Clarity about what? You tell me, I replied. Her throat tightened. Cole, don't start. It was just dinner. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because the lie was so unbelievably bold. Dinner, I repeated slowly, with a man who texts you that he's excited before you even leave the house. Her face drained. She didn't expect that. How did you? You left your phone in the kitchen. She scrambled to find an explanation. I swear it wasn't like that. We were just catching up. I wanted closure. You know how complicated things were with him. I just needed to talk things through. You talked through them already, I said. 3 months ago at that restaurant downtown. Her eyes widened. Not because she felt guilty, but because she was shocked I had been watching. You saw us, she whispered. I saw everything, I said. And instead of confronting you, I waited to see who you'd become when you thought no one was watching. Madeline sank onto the edge of the couch, suddenly looking much smaller than the confident woman who had walked out hours earlier. Cole, you're misunderstanding everything. No, I corrected. For the first time, I'm understanding clearly. She reached toward me, maybe to touch my hand the way she used to, but I shifted away. The rejection hit her harder than she expected. Please, she said softly. I didn't mean to hurt you. I felt lost. And he was a part of my past. I didn't know how to tell you. That's the thing, Mads, I said. You never wanted to tell me. You wanted both worlds. A stable husband at home and an emotional thrill outside of it. Her breathing quivered. I never cheated. Emotional betrayal is still betrayal. Tears welled in her eyes. Maybe real, maybe not. At this point, I couldn't tell. She leaned closer. I don't want to lose you, she whispered. Funny how people suddenly appreciate what they had only when they sense it slipping. I looked her in the eyes, steady calm. You already did. She gasped softly, covering her mouth. Cole, please. We can talk about this. We can fix it. You can't fix something by pretending nothing happened, I said. You made choices. Now I'm making mine. She swallowed hard. What are you saying? That tonight was the moment I stopped being your safety net. Her voice trembled. What do you mean? I replied slowly. I won't be the man you return to after you chase whatever attention you want from him. She stood up suddenly, panic growing. Cole, you can't just walk away. We have a life together. We had a life, I corrected. Now we have a truth. Madeline stepped closer, shaking. I'll end everything with him, she promised. I'll block him. Delete his number. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't give up on us. You're not afraid of losing me, I said quietly. You're afraid of losing the comfort I provided. Her lips parted, but no words came out. And don't pretend like this was a one-time slip, I added. You've been drifting for months. You already chose him long before tonight. I didn't choose him, she said, voice cracking. I just felt seen. And I didn't. The question cut deeper than she expected. She flinched, tears spilling. Cole, I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. I'm done waiting for apologies after the damage is already done. Her knees weakened, and she sank onto the floor, hands covering her face. Quiet sobs escaped her. For a moment, I just watched, not with satisfaction, not with cruelty, but with the understanding that everyone must face the results of their choices. After a heavy silence, she whispered, What are you going to do? I didn't raise my voice, didn't rage, didn't insult her. Instead, I stood tall, composed, unshaken. I'm going to take the same freedom you gave yourself, I said, but I'll do it honestly. She looked up, fear blooming in her eyes. Cole, what does that mean? It means I'm done being the man you take for granted, I replied. And tomorrow, you'll understand exactly how serious I am. Her voice cracked again. Cole, please, don't do anything drastic. Drastic? I said with a calm smile. No, Madeline. What I'm doing is smart. She reached for my hand. I pulled it away. And for the first time, she finally understood she no longer had control. I walked past her, leaving her trembling on the living room floor, her sobs echoing through the house that was no longer ours, but mine. Tomorrow, she would meet a version of me she never believed existed. Tomorrow, the real consequences would begin. I barely slept that night, but for the first time in months, the lack of sleep didn't come from anxiety. It came from focus, from direction, from finally stepping out of the fog I'd been walking through. By sunrise, I'd already showered, dressed, and brewed coffee. Not for her, just for me. The house was silent except for the sound of my footsteps, moving with purpose across the hardwood floor. Madeline appeared in the doorway a little later, eyes swollen, hair tangled from the restless night she spent crying. She watched me with the expression of someone who had woken up in a reality she wasn't prepared for. "You're up early," she whispered. "I've got things to do," I replied, calm as still water. "Cole, please. We need to talk." "We will," I said, "but not the way you're hoping." Her breath hitched. "I ended it," she blurted. "With Caleb. I sent him a message last night. I told him we're done." "I swear. That wasn't for me," I said, sliding paperwork into a folder. "That was fear, not loyalty." She stepped closer. "I want to fix this. I'll do anything." I met her eyes, hurt, desperate, trembling. "You made your choices when you thought I had no options," I said. "Now you're regretting them because I finally made one of my own." Her voice softened to a small, broken whisper. "What are you planning?" I zipped the folder. A clean separation. Her knees nearly buckled. "Cole, no. Please. I don't want a divorce." "Then you should have respected the marriage you already had." Tears filled her eyes again. "You can't just walk away. After everything we built." "You walked away first," I reminded her. "You just thought you could come back whenever you wanted." Her shoulders collapsed. She tried to reach for me again, but I stepped aside. "Cole, please," she begged. "If you leave me, I'll have nothing." "That's not true," I said. "You'll have exactly what you chose." Her voice cracked. "This isn't fair." "Fair." I let out a quiet breath. "You had a secret emotional relationship with your ex-husband for months, and when you finally admitted it, you expected me to accept it as harmless. Fair doesn't live here anymore." Her sobs grew louder, but I didn't offer comfort. I wasn't cruel. I was done being a place she could collapse onto whenever her other world disappointed her. I placed a folder on the table. Inside were separation papers and a list of our assets divided evenly, legally, cleanly. "You don't deserve a messy ending," I said. "But you do deserve an ending." She stared at the folder as if it were a verdict. "Cole, please. I love you." "No," I said gently. "You love the version of me that tolerated everything. That man is gone." Her hands trembled. "Can't we at least try therapy? Or take a break? Anything. You had all the time in the world to choose us," I said. "And every time you walked out that door, you showed me what mattered more." Her tears fell onto the papers. "I made a mistake." "A mistake," I said softly, "is forgetting an anniversary. Cheating, emotionally or physically, is a decision." She collapsed onto the chair, burying her face in her hands. I allowed a moment of quiet, not to hurt her, but because endings deserve silence. Finally, I spoke. "I'm not angry anymore, Madeline. I'm free." She looked up, devastated. "Is there really no chance?" "There's a chance," I said truthfully. "A chance for you to rebuild yourself. A chance for me to rebuild my life. But not together." Her lips trembled. "So this is goodbye?" "It's closure," I said. "The same closure you said you needed from someone else." She broke completely at that, a sound I'd never heard from her before. But I didn't walk toward her. I didn't console her. I didn't try to rescue someone who only remembered I existed when she feared consequences. I picked up my keys and headed toward the door. Madeline choked out. "Where are you going?" "To celebrate my freedom," I answered calmly. Her breath stopped. "Cole, it's what you taught me," I said gently. "Sometimes you need to walk away to find yourself." I opened the door, sunlight spilling onto the floor like a new beginning. "And I'm finding myself," I said, "by finally letting you go." Then I stepped out, leaving behind the house, the lies, and the version of me she never valued. She wanted 2 lives. Now she had none of mine.